Imagínate que hoy tienes entre 19 y 25, 26 años y te dijeron que cuando tuvieras esta edad ibas a tener un gran trabajo, ibas a tener mucha tecnología y que todo esto te iba a asegurar un gran futuro.
Gen Zers own nothing. They don't want to own anything. Everything is a service. And ultimately, that's how you completely control human beings.
Bueno, pues estamos viendo cómo la generación Z en Estados Unidos y en todo el mundo simplemente no encuentra trabajo y no encuentra salida en este sistema, en este sueño americano cada vez más deteriorado.
How did the American dream die? How did the middle class die? I'm going to tell you, it started in the 1980s with trickle-down economics that did not work. They decided to give tax cuts to the rich and corporations saying that money would trickle down. It didn't. It just made the rich richer. Then we greenlit stock buyback. So instead of, when the productivity was going up, instead of giving workers more money, they just bought back their stocks so the shareholders could make profit and the executives could get bonuses. Then we had leveraged buyouts, and the government didn't regulate leveraged buyouts, and that was the start of private equity basically buying up everything so that they could make more money. Then we moved away from pensions to 401ks, which essentially just took the responsibility and accountability of the company to take care of their workers with the retirement and put it on to individuals, but we were never taught economics in high school, so how the fuck are we supposed to know about compound interest and investing? But they said the 401k was better than the pension when it wasn't. Then they started shipping our jobs overseas, building the middle class of other countries so that they could make more profit, destroying the middle class here. Then we started ramping up the borrowing money and getting into debt as a country, which devalues our dollar. And then in 2008, we had predatory lending, which crashed the housing market, fucked over so many Americans. And then we used taxpayer money to bail out the banks. And when all the houses were cheap, the rich went and bought those up. And that's when you started to see the rent start to increase around the 2010s into the 2015s. And then in 2011, we allowed super PACs to exist.
Gen Z can't afford to move out of their childhood bedrooms. And this is not theoretical. This is now the Wall Street Journal reporting on this. And it's being echoed in my comments like this one. I love being 26 years old, having a full-time job and a master's degree, and still living at my parents' house. Our parents built their lives in an economy where one job and one mortgage could secure a home. Now, Gen Z graduates at the top of their class are sending out hundreds of job applications, getting a full-time job, and still are not able to make enough to move out of their parents' house. Because rent, unexpected expenses, and healthcare costs are draining every cent from paychecks before the next month even starts. Even the parents are reporting the same thing to the Wall Street Journal. There is no way that she could afford to move out. Housing costs are skyrocketing, healthcare is a financial trap. Entry-level jobs are demanding years of experience, and wages are just not keeping pace. So from a very honest perspective, young adults are not failing, but the system is definitely failing them.
Sí, como podemos ver aquí, el mismo jefe de la Reserva Federal, Jerome Powell, nos dice que evidentemente hay problemas y es una pesadilla encontrar trabajo para la generación Z y que no se trata de AI. Si ellos mismos ya lo dicen, ¿cuál será la verdad más profunda? Por eso traemos estos TikToks para que la gente nos lo comparta por sí misma.
So let me get this straight. I'm born in 2000. Boom, 9/11 happens. I'm born into unprecedented times. Okay. 2008 comes. Housing crisis. Unprecedented times. Okay. 2016 comes around. I find out the world's still just as racist, and then we elect a fucked up president. More unprecedented times. Okay. I make it out of high school without managing to get shot because apparently they want guns more than they want children alive. All right, cool. I'm 18. I graduated. Rent is higher than ever. Jobs pay lower than ever. Boom. COVID happened. More unprecedented times. Police brutality happens, and I learned that this country that keeps spewing about freedom of speech and your right to protest finds out they don't want you protesting. More unprecedented times. Barely making it out of a pandemic with the skin on my back. We let a fucked up president back into the White House, and he fucks the country more than ever before. I still power through it because you can't stop in the business of a country. Nope, can't do it. Now I'm less than a year from turning 26, and I learned that you niggas are trying to raise the health insurance up 175%. And then come to find out, not too many people think that everyone should have access to free food. It just doesn't stop.
If you're Gen Z, the system already decided. You'll never own a home. The old dream, work hard, get a house, build a life, is dead. For Gen Z, that path was erased before you were born. All that's left is debt, anxiety, and an algorithm selling you hope.
Why is it like this, Peter? My parents bought a house by 28. Even my broke uncle did. Now, even with a job, a degree, I can barely afford rent, let alone dream of owning anything.
Everyone I know is either living with parents, couch surfing, or stuck in some shoebox rental. Some use pay later for groceries, afterpay, Klarna, even food delivery. You ever think we'd need credit just to eat?
Parents look at Gen Z like they lazy, but they bought their homes for pennies compared to them. Now, 1 year of rent can eat up everything you make. Look at the numbers. In 1980, the average home was 3 times the average salary. Now, 10, 12, even 15 times. And it's not just talk. Look at the studies. Young home ownership dropped from over 50% to just 37% in 40 years. Rent in big cities now takes up as much as 60% of Gen Z's income. You can work 50 hours a week and still not afford an own space. And your savings? They get eaten away by inflation every single day.
And here's what nobody wants to admit. The old promise is gone. Nobody guarantees you a home, a future, or even a place to stand. For Gen Z, the safety net is gone.
So what, we're just the renter generation? No hope, no land, no future? It can't be that bad, right?
It's worse. This is the first era where even food is bought on credit. Check the numbers. In 2023, buy now, pay later. Literally doubled. The system isn't broken. It's designed to keep you moving, unsettled. Always one paycheck from losing everything.
And jobs, half my friends got laid off this year, and the other half are freelancers with no stability, no contracts, just gigs. It's like you can work your whole life and never build anything real.
That's why depression, loneliness, and burnout are exploding among Gen Z. CDC says our generation reports the highest rates of depression and anxiety. It's about losing hope for family, stability, even a dream. No place to call your own. Not even in your head.
So what do we do? Are we just screwed, or is there another way?
So maybe our future isn't in the city, but out where we can build, grow, and finally belong.
Look at what's changing. People are buying land outside the city, building small homes, growing their own food, working online. Remote work means you don't have to sell your soul just to live near an office. You don't need permission from broken systems. There are millions of villages, plots, and whole communities moving off the grid. To not lose this page, follow for hard truths and banned facts.
Y aquí en este artículo, amigos, ya saben que yo les dejo todos los artículos que uso en la descripción del video, así que vayan a verlos por si tienen más dudas. Pero bueno, vean la tabla de este artículo. Me resulta curioso, uno podría decir fácilmente que esto se debe a que, bueno, si entre más joven eres, menos has trabajado, pues por eso vales menos, ¿no? Pero esta tabla nos dice el valor neto por edad, ¿no? Podemos ver cómo no hay forma. Los de 25, 29 y 30 y 34 siempre, y 18 y 24 también, por supuesto, siempre valen menos que todo lo demás. Y no olvidemos que ahora las condiciones de los jóvenes, es decir, de los del rango de 18 hasta 34, vamos a decir, las condiciones en las que esta gente joven opera son mucho más difíciles en lo económico que la gente de 80, 70, 60. Entonces va a ser más difícil para nosotros los jóvenes llegar a esos valores, llegar a cumplir el gran sueño americano. Aquí podemos ver en este artículo que nos trae Fortune, aproximadamente 4 millones de nuevos trabajos de manufactura, de maquila, están llegando, van a llegar a Estados Unidos. Y como se van retirando los boomers, entonces la generación Z tendría que estar tomando sus trabajos, pero no los quiere. Y claro, la pregunta es, ¿por qué no los quieren? Y podemos entrar, obvio, en un discurso de, bueno, es que nos han cambiado la mentalidad, esos trabajos ya nadie los quiere, nadie quiere esforzarse, todo el mundo quiere estar en TikTok y tener satisfacción, dopamina inmediata, lo cual es cierto, pero también vamos a analizar los datos de esos trabajos que van a ofrecer, ¿no? Por ejemplo, estamos viendo que los manufacturing jobs en Estados Unidos pagan en promedio $25 por hora, es decir, $52,000 al año, lo que es mucho más bajo que el salario promedio de un americano que ronda los $70,000. Pero como ya hemos visto, los gringos ya comunes y corrientes les va mal con $100,000, con $140,000 al año, ya no alcanzan.
I make 6 figures a year and I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck and I don't know how to get out of this cycle. I need to caveat this by saying 3 things. 1, finances are extremely personal, so please remember that before you leave a nasty fucking comment in my comments because I will block and delete you. 2, I have to work 2 jobs to earn a 6-figure income, so this is not just from one job. 3, I know I got myself into this mess, but now I'm trying to figure out how to get myself out of this mess. And so I'm making this video in the hopes that it could be potentially relatable to some people, or just like maybe seeking advice.
Entonces, ¿por qué la gente querría trabajar un trabajo de maquila por ganar esa miseria de sueldo? Como les digo, siempre el sueño americano está totalmente desmantelado. Si alguna vez existió, ya no existe.
There's days where when you actually purchase something, it was yours.
Then I tried to print at my leisure and it was like, no, you literally can't use the printer unless you have a subscription.
Gen Zers have some finance problems, starting out with more credit card debt than previous generations.
You know what I'm sick of?
What?
Subscription services for everything.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of them. I'm tired. Like, it started with streaming services and it seemed like a good idea, right? It was like, okay, cool. Instead of buying DVDs, I can just pay X dollars a month and I can get all these shows.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're starting to take away the shows and there's 900 subscription services for things.
Yeah.
For all these different streaming channels, right? And now I'm seeing that they got subscription services now for refrigerators.
Yeah.
For rich people.
My Gen Z students know that they are absolutely cooked when it comes to this economy, this job market. They talk about it all the time. And I think partly being that self-aware of what's going on, whether it's through their parents or social media or whatever it might be, but knowing that the US is heading into dismal times is really where a lot of this lack of motivation to do things is coming from. I often hear it in class when we talk about many different things, but the reoccurring underlying issue is they know that the future that they're heading into is not great. And because of that, I can see some of the systemic underlying lack of motivation, which is just unfortunate, but that's where I think we're at.
Everything, it cannot be bought. It can only be licensed on a monthly basis. And what happens is you never get to a point where like those costs trail off. Like those costs are forever. They're in perpetuity every month until the end of the universe. And that's something like your folks or your grandparents didn't have to deal with. Because back in the day, like, not even a house, but let alone other things you could just buy outright. Like, you can't just buy Adobe anymore. You have to join one of their subscription plans. You can't just buy Microsoft Excel software. You have to stream spreadsheets now.
Young Americans are missing debt payments, and it's ruining their credit scores. I'm Daryl Fairweather, Redfin's chief economist, and let me explain. This isn't just a small dip we're seeing in credit scores. People are missing payments on credit cards, auto loans, and especially student debt payments at levels we haven't seen since the Great Recession. So what's going on? Well, inflation is driving up the cost of living, and that's stretching people's budgets. On top of that, student debt payments have restarted, and that's hitting Gen Z especially hard. Gen Z saw the biggest drop in their credit scores of any age group. The credit score company FICO found that 1 in 7 Gen Zers have seen a 50-point drop or more in their credit score in the last year, and it all goes back to student debt. Ever since student debt payments restarted, 6.1 million borrowers have missed a payment, and now the delinquency rate on student loans is at its highest level, 29%. Having bad credit can make your life much harder and more expensive. It makes it more expensive to get loans, whether it's for a car or a mortgage for a home. It can also make it harder to find a place to live or to find employment. When applying for an apartment, it often comes with a credit check. And some employers will check your credit score to determine whether you're a responsible employee. Bad credit can cost you both money and opportunities. So if you're at risk of missing a payment, don't ignore it. Call your loan servicer and talk about getting on a repayment plan that's adjusted for your income. For more tips on how to navigate the economy, follow me for more.
That everything is a subscription now. Like, there are some things that are not meant to be a subscription. Why does it seem like every single business is now trying this business model? Like, I get you want to make money more than anything in the world, and I get there is people who are willing to pay for a subscription, but like, can we just not?
Y como les he dicho, amigos, esto no se trata solamente de Estados Unidos. El sueño americano es algo que se expandió, se distribuyó por todo el mundo, que básicamente se resume a una comodidad infinita, a una materialidad infinita, a una búsqueda de comodidad sin fin. Y esto ya se los había mencionado en otra ocasión, pero bueno, vean cómo la generación Z en el Reino Unido compite por trabajos. 1.2 millones de recién graduados en el Reino Unido compiten por 17,000 puestos abiertos. Esto equivale a 70 personas buscando trabajo por cada trabajo abierto. No hay salida, amigos. Por eso yo solo les comparto que desarrollen su mente, su calma, su conciencia para encontrar paz en este mundo, porque este mundo que conocimos ya se fue.
Please explain to me how it is legal that the Snoo company has introduced a subscription for existing customers. I bought my Snoo before they introduced the subscription model. I paid like $1,200 for my Snoo, so it was not a cheap purchase. And if I knew that it was going to be behind a subscription model, I might have made a different choice. It just feels like a bit of a bait and switch. Am I the only one who thinks this? Like, how is this fair or legal? It just doesn't make sense to me.
What corporations and politicians are failing to understand is how much people are getting annoyed with our current iteration of capitalism in the US. Think about the subscription economy. Instead of buying something and paying once, you are now being charged monthly for so many things, right? Or every single business having its own app. So in order to get something done, you need to download a new app. Both of these things are symptoms of shareholder capitalism, which is the idea that companies need to squeeze more and more money out of their customers in order to create more value for their shareholders, aka it's just the endless pursuit of profit.
3 in 5 Gen Z renters are officially rent burdened, meaning they're spending way more than the recommended limit just to keep a roof over their head. And in big cities like New York, LA, and San Diego, it's even worse. Nearly 2/3 are drowning in rent every single month. No surprise that 31% of Gen Z still live with their parents, not because they love family dinners, but because one rent check would end their entire financial arc. 82% of Gen Z believes buying a home is harder for them than any generation before. And honestly, they're right. Only 33% of 27-year-olds today own homes. Baby boomers, they were at 40% at the same age. And home prices? Wages froze, interest rates shot up, supply dropped, and suddenly 2023 to 2024 became the least affordable home buying years in over a decade. Number 3. Jobs. Gen Z isn't struggling to find jobs. They're struggling to find jobs that pay enough to stay alive. And even when you do land a quote-unquote good job, wages haven't grown enough to match reality. Your paychecks show up like, here's $1,200, good luck surviving a modern economy with that. Meanwhile, inflation is bench pressing your salary like a warm-up set. And there's always that one guy in every friend group who says, bro, AI is taking all our jobs. Number 4. Debt. Here's the part nobody really says out loud. Gen Z isn't drowning in debt just because life is expensive. They're drowning because...
Así que pues nada, déjame tu comentario. ¿Cómo estás viviendo este fin de ciclo, este colapso sistémico mundial? Porque esa es la realidad. Eso es un colapso. Porque esa es la realidad. Eso es un colapso a todos los niveles, de forma global, de forma mundial, en el mundo occidental sobre todo. Así que pues nada, déjame tu comentario, cuídate. Ya sabes que te dejo los links, casi todos o todos los que use, que no se me vaya alguno por ahí. Pero bueno, todos los dejo en la descripción de este video. Así que nada, chécalos, suscríbete, dale like y nos vemos para la próxima.